Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers! Grab your hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest podcast in the wilderness. But it's not Big Thunder Mountain related. It's just kind of Big Thunder is the most popular Disney related thing that's tangentially related to this because Frontier and all that. Yeah, it's the Home on the Range 20th anniversary retrospective podcast. We have a very special guest star with us tonight. Y'all know him as Little Blue, but tonight we're just going by Eli. It's Eli from Little Blue Productions. How you doing, man?
Well, howdy, Tiki. Howdy, viewers. It's a thrill to be a part of this, doing the Home on the Range 20th anniversary retrospect. Yeah!
I can see we both went with the Dal McKinnon vibes for our intro.
Yeah, well, I thought of that. I planned on doing that even before you mentioned Big
That's
Thunder
funny.
Mountain.
Great minds think alike, right?
Indeed.
All right, so folks, tonight we are indeed talking about the Home on the Range 20th anniversary. Longtime viewers of the channel will probably know Home on the Range is one of those movies where, frankly, I get how it's like it's not like top tier Disney by any means. Make no mistake about that. It's not going to be in anyone's like top 20 or anything. No. But my God, I just rewatched this film last night. It is nowhere near the studio killer that people act like it is. I mean, this film it's all around, in my opinion, pretty damn solid. It's not a film that has a couple redeeming elements and the rest of it is shit like most people think. For me, it's a film that has a lot of redeeming elements, and then a couple things about it are kind of shit that we'll get into. You know, and that's a big difference for me. Let's see, 20 years ago, I was probably like in high school, which, Jesus Christ, that makes me feel old. I was in high school. I was in high school when this movie came out 20 years ago. I'm an old man.
I remember
apologies while I muse on my morality. But yeah, I was still into Disney movies. I remember going with my mom to this one, and we really enjoyed it. I really like the art style here, especially the backgrounds. I feel like nobody talks about the backgrounds. I feel like the backgrounds in this movie are very like almost like Ivan Earl stylized in that kind of like it's a lot of geometric shapes and colors, and it's just very visually pleasing. So yeah. All right, Eli, what do you think?
Okay, well, yeah, the first things I have to say about Home on the Range, well, I'm on the same level as Tiki because I really enjoy Home on the Range. Home on the Range was, and first off, like, I'd like to point this out. Because unfortunately, I don't know, because I was 3 when Home on the Range came out.
Oh no! Don't say that! Don't say that! Oh! I'm so old! I'm
talking about
I'm sorry.
Me,
Go ahead.
So this is about me. Okay, so
I know. I'm sorry.
So you're good. So again, I was 3 when this came out, and I don't seem to recall if my parents and my family and I, we went to see Home on the Range. But yeah, of course, I had a lot of memories like watching it on DVD because Home on the Range was one of those Disney films in the early 2000s that I used to watch a lot. There was that. There was Brother Bear and Chicken Little and 1 or 2 other ones, and even some of the Pixar films like Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., and Toy Story 2. But yeah, Home on the Range because, yeah, I really enjoyed this. And, because, like, yeah, Home on the Range, it's not the best, and it is a weak Disney film. But, there are those that have enjoyed this, like, of course, me and Tiki, and it's nice to see that there are those that appreciate it and like it, and, because what this film has to offer, and like what you said, Tiki, because, like, the art style and the look to the film is really good, and I think, because as I recall, like, this the art style and the backgrounds, it was it was based off of like some old Disney background drawings of the westerns and
Like
such.
Pecos Bill, Johnny Appleseed, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and also I think this was Disney's first fully animated feature film set in the Wild West. I mean there was that one Disney short in one of those Disney packaged films. Do you know which one I'm talking about,
A
TK?
Cowboy Needs a Horse. Yes, that is honestly one of my favorite shorts from the package era. I really love that short.
Well, yeah, there's that, but the one I'm talking about is. See, I'm confused. Like, I sometimes forget. Like, it's either Make My Music or Melody Time that has a Western
Oh,
segment.
those two run together for me too, honestly.
I mean, do you know what I'm talking about? There was a Western segment
Another Western,
with a cowboy and a horse.
I mean, you're not thinking of Pecos Bill. Are you thinking of Pecos Bill?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
Pecos Bill is the big one that I can like the inspiration for Pecos Bill is kind of like all over this movie for sure.
yeah, and even like at Disney, the Disney World, Pecos Bill has its own restaurant. So,
Uh-huh.
yep. So there's that. So there was like there Disney doing a buttload of Western stuff and with Frontierland and especially because the old days of television with Disney because a lot of stuff of like related to Frontierland and Tall Tales of the Past and so on, like most notably Davy Crockett and some underrated ones that people seem to forget, like there's El Fago Baca and the Swamp Fox and a
Of
couple of
course.
others, and Zorro. Can't forget to mention Zorro.
I have
So
the Walt Disney Treasures box set of Elphega Bach and Swamp Fox.
you have that?
Yeah.
Oh, so do I. What a coincidence.
I
Yeah.
do remember when I was like in fourth grade, I saw like a random episode of Swamp Fox as a kid.
Hmm. And did you realize that it was Frank Drebin played the Swamp Fox?
Probably not.
Yep.
Probably not at the time, no.
Yep. The late legendary Leslie Nielsen playing Swamp Fox, and nice to see that he did something Disney. I mean, years later he would do something else Disney, which which being Mr. Magoo.
Oh man. Oh god.
Yeah.
Now there's a
Yeah.
Disney movie that deserves its bad reputation, dude.
Yeah. I think even Nostalgia Critic covered that. So, but anyway, so jumping back to Home on the Range, because yeah, so again, Home on the Range being the first animated feature film of Disney to be a Western. And unfortunately, because after Home on the Range came out, it was that and Brother Bear that were at the time, the last two hand-drawn 2D animated films that came out because, well, we entered in the era where computer animated films were dominating the animation industry, and a lot of people had felt that 2D was outdated and such. I mean, I even recall hearing, because even Electric Dragon 505 established this, that Katzenberg said that hand-drawn animation is dead. And I think the Pixar documentary, the Pixar story, I think it said it best that even Ed Catmull, that well, I mean the documentary, just how I'm putting out, and to put it this, because it's not. I don't think it's not because that 2D animation was outdated or nothing like that. This had nothing to do with hand drawn animation. It's just the stories were not strong or powerful, and that goes for Home on the Range, unfortunately.
Sure.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, because so again, after Brother Bear and Home on the Range came out, for a while that marked the end of an era, and also because
You know what's funny when I think about it? I
what's
feel
that?
like Home on the Range and Brother Bear have almost diametrically opposite problems. Where Home on the Range actually functions pretty well as like a light, breezy animated movie. It's a lot of fun. It could use a couple more like actually serious elements to it. It could use some more heart to it. Whereas Brother Bear is kind of the opposite, where like the stuff that's thematic in Brother Bear is super strong. Like, really, that movie has some super fucking strong thematic elements to it.
It absolutely
But
does.
it's also got some of the worst comedy in any Disney movie for my money. I hate the Coda shit. I mean, Coda as a character is fine, like, but I hate the, like, oh, he's a little rapscallion kid. I hate those freaking mooses.
I'm going to stop you there.
Oh, God.
You can't stand Rotten Took. You can't.
They were just too much. Look, you didn't grow up with the marketing, okay? You were too young to experience the marketing like I did, all right? Those fucking mooses were all over the marketing.
Yeah, I mean, even for you, I guess, like, what's even worse is that on the Brother Bear DVD, there was a commentary of Rotten Took.
Oh, God.
I don't care, like, say what you will, but hey, there are those, including me, that really enjoy that commentary.
That's fair. That's fair. Z&K, I'm going to defend the Willies, sir. So you watch your mouth. I'm going to defend the Willies as comic relief characters.
Yeah. Hey, who are you, Z&K?
All right.
I had to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's see.
I agree too. The Willy brothers, they are funny. So even, of course, the main villain until we get to them.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, Slim, I think, kind of carries this whole movie, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Let's see. Also, just to shout out some comments, and then I'll let you get in whatever other backstory stuff you want to get into.
Exactly.
Z&K says, before we start, let us all raise our tin can champagne glasses in honor of the recently deceased Joe Flattery. Here's to you, old Jeb. Yeah, Jeb is one of my favorite supporting characters in this movie. I think he's got a lot of character, and he's pretty memorable for the limited screen time that he does get. So yeah, you actually told me that he had passed away, like, pretty close before we actually went on. So yeah.
Yeah. Well,
good timing, I guess, to do this.
Well, do we want to go ahead and mention Joe Flaherty while we're at it?
I mean, I think I just did.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, because I found out, because, yeah, unfortunately, literally, when this month began, April 1st, and a day before Home on the Range celebrated its 20th anniversary, Joe Flaherty sadly passed away, the voice of Jeb the Goat. And I, of course, was shocked to hear about this. Not to mention because, I found out about this the day of Home on the Range's 20th anniversary. And, yeah, it's really a shame. And I will remember Joe Flaherty best, of course, for the voice of Jeb the Goat. And he was also one of the two bad guys in Follow That Bird, if you recall, Tiki.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, Follow That Bird is a freaking gem, man. I love Follow That Bird.
Yeah, he's like, one of the two guys running a fair and, trying to capture Big Bird.
The Bluebird of Happiness, man.
And because we mentioned Brother Bear, Jeb the Goat and Took the Moose. Being the two bad guys in Follow That Bird. It's true.
Right, that's funny.
Dave Thomas, if I'm getting the name right. Yeah. Who's the voice of Root the Took. So how's it going, eh? Yeah, that's him.
All right, so some more comments here. Z&K says, this could have been Big Thunder related if that Home on the Range Big Thunder Mountain redo would have happened. That was supposed to happen, right? Z&K, believe it or not, I'm pretty sure the redo that actually probably would have happened if the movie would have been successful was the fucking Lone Ranger of all movies. And my God, thank God that movie wasn't successful. I'm going to give you all a fun fact. Little Blue, I don't think you know this. Z&K, I don't think you know this. This channel started out, like, the first few months that this channel existed, we were just doing Armchair Imagineering games. Like reviewing projects from the Armchair Imagineering games, which we're still doing with Pi's Citrus Streaming. But the first podcast that Joker's Wild and I ever recorded that was like just a podcast and not just like an Armchair Imagineering related thing was actually on the very topic of, like, Lone Ranger flopped. Thank God we don't have to worry about that Big Thunder Mountain overlay. So yeah, that's funny. Also, really quick, I want to bring in this movie came out the same year that the Big Thunder Mountain accident happened at Disneyland, where the train jumped the tracks and a person ended up dying. And so in the finale, when the train jumps the tracks, I was actually kind of caught off guard. I was like, oh, damn. Like, I hope this movie came out before that incident happened, or else that would have been really bad in retrospect.
Which movie with the
Home on the Range?
No, because I saw this. Like, the incident happened in a year before Home on the Range came out.
Oh, it did. Oh shit. Okay, I thought it happened in 04. It happened in 03. Oh man. So yeah, I don't remember any online chatter about it during the time, probably because this movie just kind of came and went without much fanfare. But yeah, it did kind of catch my eye. Like, wow, that was right around the same time the Big Thunder, jumping its track incident happened. That's not great optics.
Yeah.
Let's see. ZK says, I guarantee the most excited anyone's ever gotten about Home on the Range something was the main trio's appearance in Once Upon a Studio. That's cool that they showed up. I don't even think I spotted them there. They must have been in a crowd shot or something.
Well, they were. I think maybe this was mentioned in the Once Upon a Studio podcast you guys did, where what's her face, the big heavy woman, strong muscles, like she was carrying them as well as.
Oh, okay, that's funny. You're talking about Louisa, right?
Yeah, the strong one.
Uh-huh.
She was carrying the three cows. She was also carrying, I think, Zero. That's his name from Wind of the Willows, and even Rutten Took.
Okay, I remember her carrying Rutted Took. I don't remember the cows. That's great though. I really like that.
Yeah, and it
kind of calls back to the donkeys in Encanto.
Yeah, and if you've seen the end credits of Wish, you'll see because like it shows all the characters from all the Disney films, and Maggie is in there.
Yep. I was happy to see her in there. There's a couple Disney movies that don't get love. If I remember correctly, Meet the Robinsons is one of them that wasn't in there.
Really? Meet the Robinsons? Wait a minute.
I'm pretty sure Meet the Robinsons got snubbed. I'm pretty sure.
In Wish?
Yeah.
I don't think so, because I were to think that all of the line of Disney.
No, I know it wasn't all of them because the Black Cauldron definitely wasn't there. So I know it's not all of them.
See, I mean, I still, as of this stream, I still haven't seen Wish, but I'm going to, so.
You're not missing much.
Well, hey, I think I'll probably like it,
Okay, I'm gonna kind of breeze through these comments a little quicker than we've been going here. There's not too many Disney movies that go for a throwback look. This one's going for a late 40s, early 50s style. Yeah, indeed, and it's one of the reasons I've always really liked this is because of the throwback element. The only other throwback things I could think of are Ballad of Nessie, going for Mary Blair and John Henry, the Pensley Xerox 60s, 70s method. Millennium Times, the one that had Picos. Okay, Kogias, of course he loves Mr. Magoo, of course. For the record, I've never actually seen the Leslie Nielsen movie, but I have a couple friends who are blind who fucking hate the Mr. Magoo character just on principle. Like, they think it's just like the biggest stereotype of what a blind person's experience is actually like. So yeah, because of that, I kind of try to steer clear of Mr. Magoo related stuff. Not exactly the most PC character nowadays, honestly.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, how would it be today with Mr. Magoo if that was made?
Yeah, I don't think you could do Mr. Magoo nowadays, honestly, because the whole joke is like, it's literally just poking fun at blind people. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay, Kogia says, coincidentally, I was watching Dragon Tiki's top 15 female animated characters. Tiki had 2 characters on his list, including a Disney. What two cow characters did I have on my list, Kogias? I for the life of me, I don't remember. The only thing I remember about that list actually is that Dragon and I totally did not plan this out, but my number 1 ended up being Violet Parr, and his number 1 ended up being Helen Parr, and I thought that was really cool. So,
two from the Incredibles. So that's nice to see.
Lucas Green says the only saving grace this movie has for me is Steve Buscemi as Mr. Wesley. Seems he always gives a good performance in every project he's in. Maybe not so much nowadays. Maybe nowadays he's kind of phoning it in a little bit, but Steve Buscemi is very much one of those actors that I used to get really excited about every time I saw him.
Mhm.
It was this and then fucking Big Fish of all things that kind of introduced me to Steve Buscemi back in the day.
Oh, he was in Big Fish.
He was in Big Fish, yes. He was the poet for Big Fish.
Gee, I must have forgotten that he was in Big Fish, and that being like the only Tim Burton film that he's done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he doesn't have a huge role in there, but I remember he's memorable. Okay, ZAK says the Robinsons. Yeah, I had a feeling the Robinsons was snubbed. Black Cauldron, The Rescuers was also weird.
Yeah,
And Three Caballeros. Yeah, those are all kind of weird snubs, except for Black Cauldron, honestly.
Yeah, Meet the Robinsons. Jeez Louise, because I love Meet the Robinsons, and it's not bad at all. It's
I mean,
really good.
I am genuinely surprised that that one got snubbed just because of how Walt-centric it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's see. It was Cow from Cow and Chicken and Clarabelle Cow from the Mickey Mouse cartoons. Okay, those two make sense. I don't know. I probably would have put Clarabelle Cow in my top 15 female animated characters list these days. That seems a little much. I was probably just being a hipster about it. Like, yeah, nobody knows who Clarabelle Cow is, man. But Cow from Cow and Chicken, I would probably still put on that list. I love Cow from Cow and Chicken. One of the great Charlie Adler performances. Anyways, all right, Eli, let's get into it with some background. Just keep in mind we've already been going for 20 minutes, so let's kind of try and keep it on the brief side if we can.
Yeah. Okay, so background. So when it started, Home on the Range, when it began production, this was after this. It started in June of 1995, and this was after Pocahontas was released. And the director of Pocahontas, Mike Gabriel, he came up with an idea that might combine Captain's Courageous with a Western Gabriel developed his concept into a 40-page film treatment, and which was well received by then feature animation president Peter Schneider. And soon after the project, then titled Sweating Bullets, when it went into development, and the story originated as a supernatural western about a timid cowboy who visits a ghost town and confronts an undead cattle rustler named Slim. And it was later reconvinced into a story about a little bull named Bullets, and that he wanted to be more like a horse that led the herd. And then in April of 1999, in an attempt to salvage the production and retain the existing characters and background art, the story artist Michael Labosh, if I got that right, suggests a different approach to the story, with one that involved three cow protagonists and who became bounty hunters to save the farm. And building on the idea, fellow story artists Sam Levine and Mark Kennedy and Bruce Lentz and Shirley Peters, they developed a new storyline in September of 2000. And Mike Gabriel and co-director Mike Giamo, they were removed from the project because of the persistent story problems, and also this had to do with leadership. And in October of 2000, returning to Disney feature animation after the Rotel Dorado at DreamWorks Animation, Will Finn, who was originally slated to be the supervising animator on Maggie, and John Sanford were brought on board to direct. So there's that.
Okay.
Yeah. And another thing is because like from the beginning, and it remained there ever since, up until what it finally became. Because Slim, he was there from the beginning, and yeah. So even like the name
Did
Maggie.
he always yodel?
Well, I don't think so. I mean,
Okay, that is like one of the best ideas in this whole movie. So I'm curious where that actually came from.
and that's another thing because I think maybe this was from the new directors. I'm pretty sure they wanted to. I think they wanted to incorporate the the myth of the Piper. I told you about
The
this.
Pied Piper. Yeah, you mentioned that off air. Yeah.
Yeah, and Maggie was supposed to be a deaf girl, and Michael Eisner, who was still CEO, he asked, and as best said by Electric Dragon 505 in his old animation look back of Disney, and when talking about Home on the Range, Michael Eisner asked the directors the same question that everybody would ask if they knew the plot. What kind of parents would take their kids to see a movie where kids get murdered? Yeah, and so of course, they made it as what it is now, but there are some elements of the myth that are in Home on the Range.
Uh-huh.
I think because, well, obviously, most notably, it's, well, Slim yodeling and luring the cows.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. And, yeah, of course, the title, because with its original title, Sweating Bullets, it then, of course...
Let me just say, I love that title, and I really wish that Disney actually used it for something. It's such a good title, man.
Well, I mean, how do you feel of the title of the film, Home on the Range?
I think Home on the Range is like a decent title. Like, I don't know. I just think Sweated... Like, I will say this, kind of queuing up our discussion here. I really like the song Home on the Range and how it's used in the movie. So in that respect, I really like the title. But just looking at it at face value, it's not the most exciting title. Sweaty Bullets definitely grabs your attention a lot more just on the face of it.
Yeah, it does. And it sounds like a very interesting and fresh kind of movie title, if you get what I'm saying. So Home on the Range, we've heard that before, so... In fact, because there's a song called Home on the Range, where the deer and the antelope play, that one.
Right.
Yep, so... And, yeah, speaking of songs, do we want to go ahead and talk about the songs next?
I mean, if you're done with the background, we can kind of just jump around. That's usually what we do.
I am done with the background, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, let's just jump around then. I mean, with the songs, there's not really that many in the movie, but to me, they're all highlights. I honestly low-key think the actual Home on the Range title song is really fucking underrated. It just, it's got such a momentum to it, and it really just puts you in the mood right off the bat. And then it comes back in the perfect place to be like, hell yeah, cows, go get that Slim, I don't know, man. It's just a perfect little, Wild West theme song. I've always loved it, honestly.
Yeah, and I did the math. I think, the total of songs in Home on the Range, there are 6.
6?
Yeah.
Are you counting Home on the Range and the Reprise as 2 different songs?
Well, I mean, they're kind of the same. They are the same thing, are they not?
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
So I could just think of Home on the Range, Little Patch of Heaven, Slim Song, the end credit song, and then the song that we have with the farm.
Well, I mean, yeah, the sad song, Will the Sun Ever Shine Again?
Right. Okay.
Well, I mean, there were 2, and Tiki, in case you forgot, there were 2 songs during the credits.
Oh, there were? Okay, I don't usually watch through the credits. So.
Well, yeah, there was Wherever the Trail May Lead and Anytime You Need a Friend.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. And then Little Patch of Heaven. Honestly, low key, I feel like if that song was in a more memorable or more better received movie, that song would be a classic. I really think Little Patch of Heaven just once again it sets the tone. I think this movie does a really good job of getting you to really care about this little dairy farm and what's going to become of it in a very short amount of time, and I think the song does a lot of heavy lifting in that regard.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Slim Song is just, the show stealer. That's the one thing that even people that just think this movie's, an abomination, they'll still say that the Slim Song's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, the actual title of the song is, yodel, ladle, 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 that is the title, so.
Uh-huh.
I don't mean to cut you off, but we have to, of course, mention, of course, the one and only Alan Menken who did the songs.
Sure.
This was his, and I did the counting. Home on the Range was his 8th Disney film.
Nice.
Yep, because he of course first did Little Mermaid, then Beauty and the Beast, then Aladdin, then he did a live action one, Newsies, if you know Newsies, Tiki.
Oh, I know. I'm a theater kid. Come on. I know Newsies. Come on.
All right, just making sure. So yeah, there's Newsies. Then there was Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame,
uh-huh.
Hercules, and after Hercules, and this was best said by Alan Menken, because I love this, where Alan Menken and Richard Sherman, because they, at a D23 Expo in 2013, there was the Disney Songbook Collection, and Alan Menken was after Richard Sherman. And when it came up to Home on the Range, it's nice to see that he got to perform and talk about the facts about working on the songs for Home on the Range. And he said, best said by Alan Menken, because he remembers that he was taken to a dinner by Peter Schneider and Tom Schumacher, and this was after Hercules, and they were going to discuss with Alan Menken on what the next project it was going to be that he was going to be involved in and doing the songs. And Alan Menken, according to Alan Menken, Tom Schumacher and Peter Schneider, they said to Menken, "I think we're going to write with the cows."
Oh God.
Yep. So, yeah, best said by Alan Menken. So. And, even Alan Menken, it was nice of Alan Menken to say that, that not many people saw Home on the Range. And, he even said that, I think it's worth seeing. And the audience did applaud for that.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep.
Kogias, to answer your question about Roseanne Barr, honestly, I don't think it hurts this movie, but the only reason I say that is because I kind of feel like Roseanne Barr just being in this movie in general already kind of hurt it before she even got into any sort of controversy. Yeah. So I kind of feel like the Roseanne Barr thing, it's just kind of like, it's not great that she got into the controversy, but I almost kind of feel like it's one of those things where, like, the presence of her kind of is what it is, So it's like, you kind of just gotta, I don't know, we'll talk about it. We should probably talk about her soon. Any other songs you want to go over?
Well, yes. We especially, of course, have to talk about, of course, Will the Sun Ever Shine Again? Because that song taking place after, like the flash flood and such, and how things are not looking good. We see a lot of the characters, they're pretty down and such. I'm sorry, not Patch of Heaven. Will the Sun Ever Shine Again? It was written very shortly and in response, and if you know this, Tiki, it was written very shortly / in response to 9/11.
Patch of Heaven was?
No, Will the Sun Ever Shine Again?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, no, I did not know that, and it kind of makes sense when you think about it, but yeah, that's actually kind of crazy.
Absolutely, yeah. See, even what you said, you thought I was talking about Patch of Heaven. I did correct myself.
I don't know why. I literally just thought it was Pat because you corrected yourself. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yes.
It wouldn't really have made any sense if, like, 9/11 happened in a little patch of heaven way out west. That would not have made sense.
No, absolutely not. So Will the Sun Ever Shine Again? Again, because it was written very shortly and also in response to the 9/11 attacks. And you know what? The song says it all. I mean, not just about not just about what's going on right now in the middle of the film, but because it was written and in response to 9/11, it says it all.
Yeah, I got to admit, I'm not, like, crazy about the song in the context of the movie, just because I kind of feel like it slows the pace of the movie down a little too much. But, I mean, with that context, it's definitely a valuable song, for sure.
Yeah, and you have Bonnie Raitt. I think I'm saying her might be saying her last name right or wrong, but she performed the song. This wasn't the first time she was in something Disney. She was involved. She was involved in a bit of singing and made a cameo as herself in The Country Bears.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ.
It's true.
All right.
Okay, so I
Okay,
think we're good on the songs, yeah.
So at this point, I think we should probably break down the main characters, and then let's kind of set a roadmap here because we're already about halfway through the time that we have. So
Yeah.
we'll talk about the main characters. We'll talk about the side characters. I feel like we already talked about the animation. I don't really feel like we need to go over that too much.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, like one thing very quickly about like the animation styles of the characters, how they're done. Well, I mean, very different from what you've seen in a lot of like what people have seen in a lot of other Disney films. I mean, the best examples, like there's this and Atlantis: The Lost Empire and Lilo and Stitch and so on. And Pocahontas as well.
Right.
Yeah. So, and you know what? Because I think the character design in Home on the Range, it totally works.
Oh, I think it does too. Yeah.
Yeah, and that does depend on how like animated films are done and what style they they try to go with, and also that goes for the character looks and design.
Yeah. Okay. Wendy McClendon Covey. That would she would absolutely be a great Maggie. I could totally see that. She's Beverly Goldberg on the Goldbergs. That's solid casting for sure. The sheriff looks a lot like Prince Philip's father from Sleeping Beauty. I could totally see that. Yeah, that's funny that you mentioned that.
I never thought of that until now.
Yeah, but he does. He's not wrong.
I mean, like if he would like shave off his mustache a bit, so
right.
Yeah.
Okay, so honestly, man, I think mostly the stuff we have to talk about is the characters. I kind of feel like the story stuff kind of speaks for itself, so
yeah. I mean it won't hurt, of course, to mention some moments in the film, like epic sequences,
Of course.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, let's break it down. With the three cows, honestly, yes, Roseanne Barr is the weakest of the three. Yes, I kind of wish it wasn't Roseanne Barr. Yes, she's a little bit obnoxious. Her humor's a little overbearing. All that stuff is true. That being said, I do think the character works well in the context of the other two cows in the trio. I think they make for a good trio. They bounce off of each other pretty well.
Yeah.
The personalities definitely, clash in a fun way.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, for me, because I mean, say what you will, but I remember having a conversation with my mom about Roseanne Barr and her voicing Maggie. Because I think because both me and my mom, we said this, that Roseanne has a pretty good voice for animation stuff, and I think in my opinion, like her voice performance as Maggie in Home on the Range is pretty good, and how it just totally works for Maggie and the personality of Maggie and so on.
Sure, it does. Like I said, I think like the character is fine. I think where the character really shines though is that group dynamic. I really feel like if she was the lead character and the other two cows weren't as relevant, I feel like her personality could get very annoying, and I feel like the other two characters very much ground her personality.
Yeah, and speaking more of Maggie, Tiki, do you know why Home on the Range has a PG rating? Yeah.
Well, I mean, first of all, we're talking about, like, I feel like the G rating doesn't even really exist anymore. Most movies are rated PG. But in this instance, I'm going to assume it was for rude humor.
No, because it says, I mean, I'm looking at it because, in the trivia of its IMDb page, where the reason it got the movie earning its PG rating is due to one of Maggie's lines about her udders. Yeah, they're real. Quit staring.
Okay, and that comes right at the start of the movie. It's not a great first impression of the character, I will say that.
Yeah.
ZK does have a good point. He says, Maggie never really changes or has her own arc. They try to give her soft, tender moments, but it comes off as whiplash. The one thing I will say with Maggie, as far as the arc goes, is I do really like the the whole idea that she's very much out for herself at the start of the movie, very much just revenge driven. And then as the adventure goes on, like the whole thing with Calloway, the payoff with Calloway at the end, I thought that was satisfying enough. Is it like a deep character arc? No, not really. But I don't know. I think it's enough of one where, she was planning on leaving and then she ends up staying. I don't know. I think that's enough.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
All right. But yeah, like I said, the other two cows, I think, really compliment Maggie and really make the roster complete. So Calloway is probably my favorite character in the movie. I mean, you can't go wrong with Judi Dench. This was before Judi Dench was like in everything nerd culture related too. And I think her character is perfect. I think it's a perfect kind of counterbalance to Maggie. I really like her as kind of like the matriarch of the farm animals. I love all the stuff that they do with her hat. I love the hat callback.
Oh yeah. And you can tell because Mrs. Calloway is one cow you don't want to mess with, and she's one big tough cookie. And you realize that Mrs. Calloway being the only like character in Home on the Range, if I'm correct, and farm animal who's British.
Yeah. Which doesn't really make a lot of sense in the context of the plot, but it works so well for the character though.
Yes. I mean, besides, again, it's Judi Dench.
Oh my God, Z&K says, imagine if they redid Spaceship Earth, but include Roseanne and Jennifer Tilly alongside. That would be fucking bananas, dude. That would be bananas.
Yeah. I think Judi. I mean, yeah, because I was going to mention Judi Dench is really good at doing the narration for Spaceship Earth.
Not as good as Jeremy Irons, but that's honestly, my problem with Judi Dench Spaceship Earth isn't even Judi Dench. It's the fact that they totally fucked up the ending.
What part of the ending?
Like the downward ascent.
How? I mean,
because they have that stupid here's what your future's gonna look like. And it's like, once you've done it approximately one time, the gimmick wears off, and you're just sitting there. And they could do so much other cool shit with that downwards descent.
Okay. I mean, I was thinking, unless, because of that interactive thing and, your future and such, something for the guests to do so they don't get bored going down.
No, but I'm saying just put in, fiber optic stars. That's what they had before, and that would, just give me something that's a little visually stimulating. You can still do the interactive stuff, but, I don't know. The fiber optic stars, I think, went a long way. Anyways.
Yeah.
Do you think that Home on the Range will ever get a live-action remake? Never. It's never going to happen.
Well, wait, who said that?
Kokias asked it.
Well, Kokias, and this also goes for you, Tiki. I remember a couple of years back, I'm pretty sure, I've read something. Maybe it was a rumor or such. I don't know. Maybe it is happening. I don't know, because it's been quite a while. Where it seemed like there were plans to do a Home on the Range live-action remake.
I will believe it when I see it. There's no way. There's just no way. I legitimately cannot believe that would actually happen.
Wouldn't you believe if a live-action remake of Atlantis would happen?
Yes, because that's the one live-action remake that everyone actually wants.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, I'd be down to see that. Imagine how that would look.
It would look awesome, but I digress. Atlantis is that movie's filled with potential. Home on the Range is a good enough little animated movie, but my God, live action, Uncanny Valley, CGI cows? No, thank you. No, that's not something I want to see at all.
Yeah.
All right. Anyways, back to the characters here. What do you think of Grace? Because honestly, with Grace, the singing stuff is a little much, although it is plot relevant.
Yes.
Other than that, I do really like her character as kind of like the grounding force in the trio. I do think she works pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, Grace is a pretty good character in how she's trying to be being the peacemaker and also trying to have those, I guess, handle their anger issues and such, and what she did to Buck, and freaking Jennifer Tilly voicing grace. I mean, it's Jennifer Tilly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A decent character. Like I said, I think the singing maybe just went on a little too long, even though they needed to establish it for the pitch thing.
I mean, even especially because when there's one moment like she is singing the Home on the Range song, and you cut to Maggie and Mrs. Calloway just, Maggie can't handle it, and Mrs. Calloway, she's been there, so
All right. Let's see. So moving on to some of the side characters, let's talk about Buck. And honestly,
yeah.
on a rewatch, Buck is the character that I am honestly the most mixed on. Because here's the thing. I really like Buck as a character, as a concept. I really think the idea behind him, where, he wants to be the horse of the bounty hunter, and he's got all these aspirations of greatness. And then I think it's fair to say that Buck probably goes on the biggest arc out of anyone in the movie with what happens with the Rico stuff. That being said, my God, by the end of the movie, I was getting really sick of Cuba Gooding Jr. just going all like, hiya, hiya, wah, hiya. It's like I feel like they played up his whole like, hyperactive qualities a little too much for the sake of comedy. Again, I really like the character. I really like the arc. I don't know. And I don't mind Cuba Gooding Jr. when he's used well, but I just feel like when you're writing the comedy for this guy, it's a little much. It's a little much.
Yeah, for me, Buck, I have absolutely no problem with Buck. He's a pretty funny character, and I like how he evolves and up to when, because he really helps out the three cows, and in addition, Lucky Jack, and because his dream of being with Rico and his wanting to wear Rico's saddle and such. But I think Cuba Gooding Jr. because he does a really good job at what he brought to the voice performance of.
Like I said, the thing that mostly annoys me is just the karate noises, and that's not on him. It's just on the writing.
Yeah. Yeah, because even like you have him going like, get back, kiss my fist, and so on.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very much, it feels very of its time, honestly.
Do you recall that before Home on the Range, Cuba Gooding Jr. did something else, Disney?
Oh, I know he did. What did he do?
You want me to say it for you?
Yeah, was it Snow Dogs?
Bingo.
Oh, I knew it. All right.
Maybe those were the only two Disney materials he did. I'm not sure. But,
man, Snow Dogs is like a fucking fever dream of a movie.
And to think that was James Coburn's last film.
Oh God.
Well, I'm sure for James Coburn because he's good in anything that he had been in, even if it was a movie that kind of so.
All right, Z and K says about the rabbit. I really like Lucky Jack as a character as well. Did you come across any research when you were looking stuff up? Did this guy have a role in any previous versions
of this?
Like, was he in the Sweat and Bullets pitch?
I don't think so. Not
Okay,
what
I only asked because he's a really interesting concept for a character, and I don't feel like they do enough with him, but I really like him every time he's on screen, and I really love the idea of, like, a rabbit who's very unlucky, but his rabbit foot was lucky, but he has long since lost the rabbit foot. I love that idea. Everything about that idea, to me, just works so well. I just wish he was in more of the movie.
Yeah. In fact, because, Lucky Jack was originally going to have a completely different story and such, how he was presented in Home on the Range. And we, of course, have to mention about the deleted scenes, and starting with Lucky Jack, because the introduction of Lucky Jack and his background was completely different than how it is in the final film, because he would have had no connections and tie-ins with what the cows are doing and with Alameda Slim.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah. But you know what? Because I think what's in the final film is a lot better. Because with him being with the cows, because he too has a score settle with Slim, because Slim, he basically um, basically booted out all the other jackrabbits in Echo Mind, because according to Lucky Jack, us jackrabbits lived there from generation to generation.
Right. Yeah. No, I do like that. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And also, Lucky Jack, he's probably one of my favorite characters of Home on the Range. And, well, sidekicks, I want to say. I mean, he would be considered a side character.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Not to mention, I do, even like it's in the thumbnail because I did a review on Home on the Range on the Little Blue channel, and it's in the thumbnail. I have a plush of Lucky Jack.
Oh man. Okay, I'm actually kind of jealous, low key.
What, jealous of
That's
me?
Yeah, just because I really like, one of my things when it comes to plush is I really love plush of obscure characters. Oh man. Okay, hold on. Let me
Okay.
oh,
You gonna show this.
yeah, I am. Just Jacob's a lot better at this tech stuff. Oh my god, that's awesome.
Yep. This happens all the time.
I love how the peg leg. Oh, that's great. All right.
Yeah, like the peg leg. When I got this a couple years ago. Yeah, the peg leg is kind of, as you can see, but he's still in decent. The plush I have of Lucky Jack is still in good condition. So
Nice.
yeah,
All right. Okay, what other side characters do we need to talk about? I feel like we should probably save Slim and the Willies for close to last.
yeah. Well, I mean, there's like say, well, those that come to my mind, that is. Well, I'm thinking of say, like Rusty and Audrey and Ollie and the little baby chicks.
Yeah, they're all fine. They all kind of like spread out the characters. I like Ollie. I do like Ollie.
Yep.
All right. I don't really think there's a lot more to go on with these
And
characters.
and not even like say the human characters, like not the villains, but like Pearl and Sam.
Yeah, let's talk about Pearl, dude. Pearl, for me, maybe one of the most underrated Disney characters straight up fucking ever. Because my heart goes out to this woman so much, dude. So much. I empathize with her so much whenever I watch this movie. And I feel like the animation just gets her so spot on. She basically has two songs. She doesn't sing the songs, but they're kind of centered around her. And they're perfectly like, Patch of Heaven is like, her kind of like perfect life on the farm. And then the sun might never shine again is like the perfect kind of low of low song for her. I really think they do a great job with her character from just a little bit of screen time. Like, she's not in a lot of the movie, but when she's there, she really stands out.
Yeah, especially because like when Sam the sheriff, because giving Pearl the bad news that the risk of Patch of Heaven being auctioned off, and you can see that Sam, he hates that this is happening. He feels so bad for Pearl, and
Oh,
he was he was trying to help, but because what he did, but still, it's not like he did it intentionally. Where he said to Pearl that if she wants to save her farm and such, then she ought to sell off some of the animals, and then just literally in a matter of seconds, just like Pearl just telling Sam, "Stop right there, Sam. They're family. You don't sell family." And
right.
then I love this, like her saying, "You get before I say words no good woman should use," etc.
But at the same time, like, yeah, I love that conflict, but I do like that there is like a sense of mutual respect between the two of them as well. And
Absolutely.
it's all very subtle, which this movie does not get a lot of points in the popular consciousness for being subtle, but I would just point to that subplot and say it's a very subtle little subplot going on.
Yeah.
All right. And then okay, one quick thing I want to mention before we jump into the Slim stuff, and then I think the Slim stuff should probably be where we end things off. I really love the town, and the town very much gives me vibes of Western River Expedition. I don't know if you know what that is.
I think, yeah, I would know that.
Okay, yeah. Am I not wrong? I feel like all the set pieces that they put into that town feel like set pieces that would be in that ride.
Yeah, the proposed like attraction that Mark Davis did.
Correct. It was basically a Wild West version of Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah, yeah. Now that you mention it, yeah, I can see that.
Uh-huh. All right.
Maybe they did take some inspiration from that, but we don't
I
know.
would be surprised. I would be surprised if they took a little bit of inspiration from that. For example, they have one of the things I kind of wish they would have done that was lifted from that attraction is wouldn't it be fun if the Willies rode horses that wore bandit masks?
Yeah, that would be. Although one thing that the horses do have that the willies do is their hair.
Oh, okay, okay.
Covering, because the willies' hair is covering their eyes.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Right,
we
right,
do we,
right.
we do get one glimpse of one of the willies' eyes. So
So with that in mind, let's just jump into the Willies and Slim. I'm sorry, y'all. The Willies have always been some of the Disney comic relief characters that have made me laugh the hardest. They're every single one of the jokes with them lands so hard for me, and I think it's just a case of just the subjective humor. Like, I think it's fucking hilarious when they can't recognize Slim when he puts on just the tiniest bit of a disguise. I think that's super funny. And
yeah,
then I think maybe one of the most controversial gags in the whole movie is the head shape gag on the map. And for my money, that might be one of the single funniest things in any Disney movie.
yeah. And speaking of like them
That's
not
my
like
comfy place.
what and then strangling. But I was gonna say this because speaking of the willies not they stupidly do not recognize their uncle under that disguise. There was one moment where the one wearing red, um, he put on the glasses and the hat, and the two other
Who
willies,
are you?
exactly. It's like no matter what, it's like okay, so it's not just Slim. Anybody else wearing that? They just they just like go, hey, who are you?
All
Um,
right, we got Teddy in the comments. Man, it's fine. I know most people don't like this movie as much as I do. That's fine. We're just here to talk about it because we personally think it's kind of underrated. But you're welcome to your opinion.
yeah, everyone's entitled to their opinion on this film.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out because the voice of the Willie brothers, Sam J. Levine, because because he's in the animation business, and that's the thing because most animation studios, especially Disney, DreamWorks, and Pixar, they would sometimes have some of their animation workers do some of the voices of the side characters,
Oh yeah.
and not to mention,
I feel like that's literally like half of the Elemental cast.
yeah, and not to mention
I could be wrong about that.
yeah, and also just one thing I want to mention because if you didn't know this, Sam J. Levine in the latest years, because of course he's still active in animation and such. He was one of the co-directors, and I didn't realize this. The voice of the Willie brothers is one of the co-directors of DC League of Super Pets.
Oh my god. That's
Yep.
funny.
Yep. Yep. So yeah. So and you know what? Here's like how do we feel like what do we have to say on like how Slim treats his nephews?
I mean, comically bad. I don't really think it's that deep, honestly.
Of course not. And if I thought of saying this, I would have mentioned this when you and Jacob did the podcast of Robin Hood.
Okay.
Like, wouldn't you think that that Slim and the Willie brothers are maybe not up there, but kind of like right next to say some of the other villain and sidekicks that have funny chemistries, like Prince John, Sir Hiss, Yzma, Kronk, and Captain Hook and Smee, etc.
I wouldn't say it's as strong as any of those examples you mentioned because let's face it, all those are like top tier. But it's definitely in that spirit. It's definitely in the spirit of those.
Yeah, yeah. So, and also that whole thing of Slim, because like a little, like, it kind of gives a little backstory, because he used to work on like ranches, I guess, and how those stuck up ranch bosses couldn't appreciate his talents and so on.
Uh,
And if you like, and the Willie brothers just triggering him about, maybe they just didn't like your singing, yodeling, like, by saying that, oh, he gets triggered. So
all right.
um okay, like, continuing with the villains, like, what about, say, Rico?
Rico, I really like as well. I think no one ever talks about him, and I genuinely can't understand why. Because I love a good. This is like Disney doing the twist villain thing way before twist villains were actually like a thing. Like, I realized that Atlantis had come out before then. That was a thing, but
And Pixar are doing that as well.
right. But I think this twist really works just because of the hero worship that Buck has for him.
Oh
And I
yeah.
think we as the audience are kind of like in Buck's shoes when the twist happens. And I really think it's effective in that way.
Very much so, because you know, I mean, you think that nothing, you really don't expect anything about Rico. All that he's doing is just, well, going after Slim. But it turns out, I mean, not only is he, a bounty hunter, he's in the bounty hunter business, but he's also like working alongside with Slim, covering Slim's tracks and so
Uh-huh.
on. Yep. Um, and of course, well, he was mentioned earlier, but still. And even though he doesn't have a huge part, still, because Mr. Wesley.
I just love the design, man. The design is so fucking impeccable. It's just like Steve Buscemi is a little miniature Brad Bird man, and I love it.
A miniature Brad Bird, you say?
A miniature Brad Bird man.
Oh, okay.
So like the Wallace Shawn character from The Incredibles. Like, it's just kind of like a stylistic thing that Brad Bird sometimes does.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Edna
Yeah.
Mode is another good example of that.
Yep. And here's another thing, because I've seen the behind the scenes, and like they said that Steve Buscemi, he got a kick out of Mr. Wesley's design and such, and
Oh.
he was more than happy to voice him for that doing a cameo and such in Home on the Range, and even in the film, Slim doesn't get his name right, calling him Mr. Weasley.
uh,
Yep. Um, Yeah, and also, and anything on Junior.
remind me who Junior is. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, you watched it recently, so how could you cannot remember Junior?
Just tell me.
He's Slim's Buffalo.
Oh, right.
The
Okay.
the
Okay.
guy who says to Buck, cows only.
Yeah, I just didn't remember the name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, especially it's pretty because yeah, Junior's a pretty good character, and well, he's someone else you don't want to mess with. I think there was even a little bit earlier, because when the cows finally made their way to Echo Mine, and well, because they hear from Junior that the only critters that get by me are cows only, and thus easily getting into Echo Mine. And I think there was a little bit of flirting between Junior and especially Mrs. Calloway, because Mrs. Calloway saying to Junior, cheeky devil. So
Uh Yeah, yeah. With Slim, I just want to say really quick. I mean, kind of goes without saying, but the design is wonderful.
yeah, and being voiced by the one and only Randy Quaid.
Of course, of course.
Yeah, and there is one. Oh my gosh! This also has to be mentioned. I mean, have you've seen the deleted scenes of Home on the Range? Have you?
I'm sure I probably watched them like when the DVD first came out, but it's been forever, so you're gonna have to remind me.
Okay. Well, see, because more on the deleted scenes. There weren't that many deleted scenes. I'm pretty sure. Well, and with what was featured in the DVD, like the film was originally had an alternate opening where it still had a still had a song number, but it was done by these three uh, singing Mexican butterflies.
Oh no, God!
And the song was called the song was called "Heroes and Villains and Cows."
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Was it in the tune of the Beach Boys song "Heroes and Villains"?
that I don't know.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It's probably wasn't.
Well, probably not. So
Uh-huh.
maybe because no, I think yeah, I heard that song before, so I don't know because it has nothing to do with the Beach Boys song. And then the next one that has to do with Slim, which those who worked, those working on Home on the Range, the directors, they really got a kick out of this one. But everybody else thought that they were crazy with this one deleted scene, this one sequence that got cut. But I don't know. I mean, and what you have to say on it, Tiki, because what I'm about to say, because Slim for president.
Oh man, yeah. ZK actually commented this, and honestly, dude, like it's a good thing that they didn't go with this plot line because my God, does it have some January 6th shades? the,
January Six Shades.
the insurrection
Okay. I mean, you know what?
stormed the
'Cause
White House and whatnot.
yeah, honestly, I think the deleted scene itself is fine, it's funny, but yeah, I guess because it wouldn't have worked in the film. So, and then there was another deleted scene. There was the coyote chase, which that would have been right after the three cows met with Lucky Jack, and there was the wagon, which was originally in the original introduction of Lucky Jack, a stagecoach, and they would have hopped on the stagecoach. It would have rolled, and the coyotes chasing after them, and they would end up in a cave. There would be more on their tail: bats, I think, mountain lions, cougars, whatever, and a bear. Up until they make their way to like a cliff. They jump off of the stagecoach by slowing it down. All the critters getting on top, and they're on top of the stagecoach, and then it falls down into a river, and so on. And
Uh-huh.
then of course the final deleted scene, of course, being the original introduction of Lucky Jack, as we just talked about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I
And
think we're more or less kind of through the through
characters.
everything.
Yeah. I mean, we have, and just one thing, like we can't forget to mention these two. Like anything on these two, what are they called again? Well, I mean, they're kind of cows. I mean, they're in the cow family. Bob and Barry.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember those two that they were flirting with the three cows?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So they were pretty funny, and how they showed up at the end of the film, being a part of Patch of Heaven as well as Junior, and the voice of they're Longhorns, right? Bob, Barry, and Bob being voiced by another guy in the animation business, and who did a lot on Disney, Mark Walton. And Mark Walton would go on to do a couple of more voice performances for Disney, two more after Home on the Range. He was the voice of Goosey Lucy in Chicken Little, and most notably, he's the voice of Rhino in Bolt.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And okay.
Which is actually really funny because those are two like radically different vocal performances.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really goes to show the range on that guy, actually.
Oh yeah, Mark Walton, like he did a spot on job with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think we're good on the characters. Like any of the action sequences, anything that we want to talk about.
I mean, honestly, I kind of need to wrap up sooner rather than later, but let's see. I already brought up the town sequence, which was really cool. I already brought up the finale for the jumping the track thing, which was a little weirdly timed with the Big Thunder Mountain of it all.
Yeah.
Anything stand out to you that you want to shout out?
I do. I mean, anything because you talked about the town, like nothing on the saloon sequence.
Well, the saloon sequence in particular is the thing that feels very Western River Expedition to me, to be honest with you.
And one thing in the saloon,
Slim should have been voiced by Eminem. Kokios. I feel like now I know you're trolling, honestly. No, you should not have. Just straight up.
What's this about? What's this about Eminem? What?
He's making a joke that like Slim Shady, Eminem, Alameda Slim.
Okay. Yeah, well, one thing in the saloon that maybe you didn't realize, even I didn't realize as when I was little, because you know what? This is something, it's amazing how this was in Home on the Range. And this would be something that even the old days of Disney would do. One of the stage ladies, up top of the stage, and, like some of them wrestling the cows. And the one that was wrestling with Maggie, like, swings her and through the countertop and such, and hitting one guy up at the counter or whatever. It turns out that one stage performer was actually a dude,
Oh God! Oh no!
and even like the where like he hit the guy and like daddy son. So
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, yeah.
that's something that even the olden days of Disney would have done.
I feel like there's a way to do that joke now and not have it be insensitive, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah. Okay. And others I could
Okay.
think of, like anything like on the Flash Flood sequence.
Not really. Again, I kind of I'm sort of,
Okay.
yeah.
And
I
well,
I got Survivor and I want to eat dinner before that. So
okay. And what about the Echo Mine Chase?
not really.
Well, I mean, because that was pretty good. Because like characters going back and forth, especially like because Slim at one point being captured, like they have him, the three cows and Lucky Jack, and then Buck has him, and then the cows have him back and such, and everybody on their tail, and up until it all comes to an end when they crash in the train.
Uh-huh.
And can't forget to mention this, like in case you did catch this, because they accidentally bump into Junior, the three cows and Lucky Jack. They accidentally bump into him, and he falls down. Of course, he's all right because we see him a little bit just 1 minute or so later. He lets out the Goofy holler.
Of course, I caught that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean Disney, because Disney did that a couple times. I guess like
It's like their own personal Wilhelm scream, honestly.
that's what I was gonna say.
Uh-huh.
Like, even though it wasn't in every single Disney film, like they did have it at times. Like, it can be heard in The Hunchback of Notre Dame and in Home on the Range, and also in Enchanted. Yeah, because in Enchanted, you had the Goofy holler and the Wilhelm scream at the same time.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So that's kind of, I mean, it's kind of nice to see that, because how Disney tried to do their own do their own Wilhelm scream wannabe, but not a lot. And I'd probably that was a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's even more distinct of a sound cue than the Wilhelm scream, so it probably would stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. And one more thing, because like I said, at the time, because hand-drawn animation had came to an end, and even in like say in 2006, Universal Pictures would try to bring back hand-drawn animation with Curious George,
Oh,
but that
man.
yeah, but that failed. But
Uh-huh.
then until 3 years later in 2009, hand-drawn animation would be resurrected with Princess and the Frog, and then again with Winnie the Pooh, and it would once again hand-drawn animation would once again be on hiatus.
Unfortunately, I'm hoping for a comeback.
I think from what I heard, because I do remember I had seen a couple of videos where it was talking about like the peak of hand-drawn animation returning, especially from Disney. Not to mention, like there was I don't know if you saw this, Tiki. There was a commercial. I forget exactly what it was about, but it featured the 100 Dalmatian characters.
You know what? I think I did see that commercial recently, but I do not know what it was about now that you mention it. That's
Okay.
actually funny.
And then there was one or two that featured Oswald the Lucky Rabbit.
Uh-huh.
And I recall hearing, because I think Eric Goldberg said that it seemed like hand-drawn animation was returning, and how he mentioned that some new, fresh, uh, animators were being hired and being taught hand-drawn animation for upcoming future Disney animated films. And it seems like maybe, hopefully, hand-drawn animation will return. I mean, I kind of feel like it was at its peak with Wish, if you get what I'm saying.
At its peak, how? Wish was not the peak of anything.
Well, maybe that's not the word I'm looking for, but like how Wish had a bit of like 2D vibes to
Like
it.
the art style in Wish, I will say, is by far the best thing about it.
Yeah.
ZK says, I think it was a fashion or perfume commercial. I could easily tell that it was Eric doing it.
Well, yeah, because I know that I heard that he was involved, of course, and of course, he was, of course, very heavily involved in Once Upon a Studio, once again animating Genie.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, because most of
No, I'm sorry. What were you just asking? I'm sorry.
well, I was just gonna say because like maybe you Dragon and Jacob did not realize this that most of like the animators who worked on the Disney characters in Once Upon a Studio were animators who worked on those characters, like the animator who did Timon and Pumbaa, Eric Goldberg with Genie, and some of the animators who worked on the computer animated characters. They all most of them came back to do the characters that they worked on.
That's true.
Yeah, all those years ago when they were involved in those Disney films.
And Disney as a company, if anything else, they are riding high on their nostalgia. So it's like, I'll fucking take a sequel if it means more 2D animation. Just saying.
Yeah, me too, because I would be down to once again see Disney make a comeback doing hand drawn animated films. And it seems like that, but we technically still don't know as of right now still. Like
I mean,
what
Disney as a company right now, they're in such hot water. It's not even funny. They need to, I don't know. I don't even want to get into all that, man. There's a lot of stuff wrong with Disney right now.
Yeah. I hope for me personally, I hope that things there will be a light at the end of the tunnel and things will get resolved. I really hope.
The light at the end of the tunnel is just entirely new leadership. That's what they need.
Yeah, and they got to get it. They should get a proper leader. So
I
good
mean,
one.
fucking Iger. It's like, don't get me wrong. When Iger came back, after the Chapek raid, I was happy like everyone else. But man, it's been
Yeah,
almost 2 years. The dude hasn't done shit. In my opinion, things have only gotten worse since he came back. So it's like, we need fresh blood in that studio. We need it fast, dude. Seriously.
yeah. He should have done something by now. I mean, it's strange.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But the last things to say on Home Under the Range, like it. Oh yeah, because you realize that the final song, "Anytime You Need a Friend," that was done by like I want to say like a pop singers. I want to say in that era of Disney and songs.
Right.
The Bayou sisters. I don't know because that's the thing with with some Disney animated films. They would have like artistic singers or pop singers, whatever. So, that anyways. At least like there is there is an alternate version of it where Alan Menken is singing it, but yeah. And I didn't realize this, maybe you didn't, and if you stayed for the credits, which I doubt you did, Tiki, right before it ends with the Disney logo, you can hear saloon piano music, and like there's footsteps entering the saloon and a horse riding and such. I never knew that until one day
That's
I was
actually really
watching.
cool. That is a really cool Easter egg.
Yeah, I'm just saying because I never realized that until one day I was watching Home on the Range and I stayed for the credits.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Nice. Kogias, honestly, Bob Iger announcing both Frozen 3 and 4, that's the problem, dude. That's the problem. That is exactly the problem. This company needs more original ideas. They can't keep coasting off the sequels. Eventually, they're going to piss away the goodwill of every single IP that they have if they keep going in the way that they're going.
However, to comment on that, my response on that, I think Bob Iger's a while back.
Frozen 3 makes sense. I'm just saying we did not have to we did not have to announce a Frozen 4, all right? That just reeks of desperation.
Okay, well the point being is that on Frozen 3 and 4, I'd like to think that and I think a producer of Frozen has stated that Frozen 3 and 4 will be like a two-parter.
All right, I mean that's interesting. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the first two, They're not only they not only have song numbers to them, but they do have some intenseful stuff.
Yeah.
So
I'm not a big fan of Frozen 2. I like some of the songs in Frozen 2, but anyways.
my mom can't. I have to mention this. My mom can't stand the song number that Kristoff has.
Really, that's funny. That to me is probably the highlight of Frozen 2, honestly.
In what? In a humorous way, sarcastic way, or?
No, generally just it's probably the most enjoyable scene in the movie for me. Not even in an ironic way. I just really like the creativity behind it.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah. So I think that's what I'd like to think about Frozen 3 and 4, because from what I've heard, they are planned to be like a two-parter, and I think that could work. I mean, hey, take for example the last two Harry Potter films split in two parts, or the last two Avengers films, or even like say Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3.
2 and 3. Yeah.
Yeah. So think
It's
of
just
that
a
for
bold direction for Disney, man. I mean, but at least they're doing something interesting with
yeah.
it. So
So
we'll see.
think of that for an example. So, and
Uh-huh.
what I'm thinking of.
All right.
But I was going to say I do recall hearing from Bob Iger in response of what you said, and I think Kogias about you know sequels and such. Bob Iger stated that sequels will only happen if the stories are worth it.
Right, but in my opinion, uh, Ralph breaks the internet. Absolutely not. Look, dude, we could go down. This could literally be a whole other podcast discussion. I don't want to get into it. I'm already
Yeah.
kind of late signing off here. But
Just we could keep it brief, so very brief.
well, I'm just saying, the
Best we can.
sequels that Disney has greenlit, especially on the Pixar side of things, I like Incredibles 2. I genuinely do not think that Incredibles 2 was like. I genuinely do not think that Brad Bird wanted to do Incredibles 2 when he did Incredibles 2. There's something really funky going on with that movie. It feels like I don't know. But yeah, but man, I'm sorry. I don't mean to rush you, man. We do just really need to get out of here.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was just all gonna quickly say, like, not even like you don't. How do you feel on Zootopia 2 happening?
I don't know.
Now, I know a lot of others were asking for Zootopia 2 because Zootopia is one of those Disney films where the story can continue. So
Yeah.
yeah, and could you imagine if Disney Toons were continuing with doing those direct to DVD sequels? This just popped in my head. Could you imagine if if there was a Home on the Range 2?
Oh, I could.
Yeah, because we got Brother Bear 2, so it wouldn't be surprising if there were considerations for a Home on the Range 2.
Uh-huh.
Well, even there was plans for a Chicken Little 2, but that of course didn't happen.
All right, dude, I'm sorry. I need to get going. I'm sorry. I don't mean to push you. I really need to get going. I'm sorry.
All right, but in closing, what are our final thoughts on what are the last things we have to say about Home on the Range?
It's really underrated. I think more people should give it a chance.
I agree too, because again, sadly, yes, it is the weakest of Disney's films, and and that, as Animat said it best, Home on the Range and The Black Cauldron are one of those Disney films that Disney wants you to forget the most, but I don't think there's any sign of forgetting about those films because, probably not everybody, but most of us, including you and I, Tiki, we still talk about them. So
Yeah.
yeah, the story I think is okay. Some characters are enjoyable. The songs are really good. The animation style, all of it. Just what more do I have to say? Home on the Range, a very underrated Disney animated feature film. Yes, it's the weakest, but you know what? Altogether, it can be fun and enjoyable to watch.
All right. Well, big thanks to Kogias, Z and K. Let's see who else was here. Theme Park Priest briefly popped in for a quick cameo.
And
Teddy, yes, even though he did not agree with our takes, that's fine. Everyone's different. That's totally fine. All right.
Was Keeper Colby here as well?
I do not think he was. No, I do not think Paragon was in the chat tonight.
I mean, usually because it's Kogias, myself, and Keeper Colby who are here. So
well, he's Colby's he's busy. He's in college. He's got stuff going on. He doesn't have to come on for every podcast. But
even that also goes for, I remember, Richard's Victims.
Richard's Victims he's not around as much, which, it's like,
yeah.
I do like when he does pop up. Anyways, we're going to get going, folks. Thank you so much for coming on, Eli. It's been fun.
Hey, it's been my pleasure, and I look forward to coming back for some more. So it's been a lot of fun, and yeah, because it's nice that, like, as you said, Tiki, like, fresh new blood and such for the channel, so.
For sure. Yeah. All right, folks. See y'all later. Have a good night.
Yeah. This happens all the time.
What'd you do with my Uncle Slim?